This one habit got me posting on YouTube, and today I want to talk to you about it because it is one of the things that I've been doing for years that I didn't really know what I was doing at the beginning, but now that I do, I realize how life changing and great that is. Okay, especially if you're an anxious person and overthinking, this is something that really helps me get stuff done. Okay. And this habit is morning pages. I'm not going to edit anything here. But morning pages, what can I tell you about them? They're fantastic, okay? If you're familiar with The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, you probably already know what I'm talking about. The Artist's Way is a book, right, that helps artists in their creative journey. And I've read this book this time, first time this year after a lot of repercussion after Doechi did the Artist's Way and shared it on YouTube, and I was like, well, I've been wanting to read this book for years, but I never came around it, so I finally got it and read it and blah blah blah. And basically, the habit that changed everything is the morning pages, right? And what are the morning pages? Basically, what you need to do is that you get a journal and you write 3 pages every day about anything. Okay. There's no wrong way of doing morning pages. You just need to write anything. It's more like a brain dump. Um, and what I've realized, what I've noticed from doing the morning pages is that sometimes we can get too in our heads about things, right? We can be overthinking, insecure about stuff, and the morning pages is a way to get all that stuff that's going on in here that sometimes you're not even aware of, right? All that mental labor that you're doing, that it's sometimes even subconscious, things that you don't really address that are going on in your head. You get all that thing and you put it on paper. And that helps me when it comes to my anxiety, and also because we all have what Julia calls the inner critic, right? Or your inner asshole. That voice in your head that keeps telling you stuff like, oh, this is not good, you're not good at this, you can't paint, you can't draw, you can't play make music. What do you think, you're gonna write a novel? Like every creative endeavor comes with a lot of resistance already, right? Especially like I like to paint, and when I try to paint, I just have like at least 1 or 2 hours of going crazy because I don't know what I'm gonna paint, and I'm looking for a reference or an idea. And if I do know what I'm gonna paint, I'm terrified of starting because I think it's gonna look bad. So I need to battle all those voices in my head, and what gets them out of the way, it's going to the pages, okay? So it also helps me a lot with my anxiety because when you're writing, you literally need to be slower than your thoughts, if that makes any sense. For example, we are used to being a rush nowadays, right? If I type, I'm faster, but the concept of the morning pages is that you write them, okay? I don't recommend you type them because you can really like race through it with your thoughts at the same time. But the idea of slowing down, the ability of doing that, it helps you sort of like go into the mental place of ease, of calmness. Like, I'm going to create something. And I need to be used to the fact that these things take time. Like, I take around 5 hours to paint something decent. And if I'm rushing through the other things that I'm doing during my day, I'll never get used to the fact that when I actually go to the easel, I need to take my time. And when you're writing a song, you need to take your time. When you do any sort of creative work, you need to dedicate a huge amount of hours sometimes to something. And the morning pages is that first thing that it's like taking a cold shower. It's making you feel used to the discomfort of slowing down, because I think that we're sometimes just like too in a rush nowadays. So at first, I was trying to keep the pace of my thoughts with my hand, and then I realized that I was getting like pain in my wrist. So I was like, okay, I need to slow down. I need to allow my body to work at its own rhythm with writing and allow my brain and sit with the thoughts. Okay, because it's a very interesting process. Trust me, when you try it, you will understand what I'm talking about. Because sometimes we think too fast and we don't really analyze what we're thinking. Sometimes you get a negative thought in your head and you just accept it as it is. But when you have to write it down, you give it time to sit with that sentence, that thought. And the next thought, sometimes you're going to question it. You're going to start questioning, why am I thinking this way? Why am I leading myself in a negative direction when I could be, more confident or more self assured about this? So it's a process. You need to trust the process, okay? And how did this habit got me to post on YouTube? Well, basically, I was terribly stuck. The moment I realized, okay, I want to start posting on YouTube and I want to start making videos, I didn't really know what to talk about. I was digging for content and topics that I found interesting. I have like a lot of interests and a lot of things that I can do and talk about on YouTube. But I wasn't really sure of what I could do that would make me stay consistent and would help me bring value, teach something, help people with something, entertain them, whatever. I was stuck with all the possibilities and all I was overwhelmed with the amount of work and the amount of creativity and energy that it would take for me to actually post. And so I found the book again. And for the second time, Julia Cameron held my hand, and she said, do the morning pages. And I started doing the morning pages, and in 1 week, I was like, okay, I'm gonna make my first video. All right, so one more time, how do you do that? It's very simple. Get a notebook, get a pen, write 3 pages of anything, okay? What at first you might think, oh, this is very strange, this is very weird, I don't know what I want to write about. That's the block, right? So, and that's amazing because this habit teaches you how to unblock. Because if you are a creative person, you're gonna feel blocked at times. And this habit puts you in the place of, no, I'm not going to be blocked. I'm going to write anything because you can do anything, like literally anything. When I'm thinking about painting, I'm like, I feel blocked sometimes. I want to do an interesting painting. I want to do an interesting portrait. I want to have a great idea of my own and put it on the canvas. But sometimes I feel so blocked and I choose that I won't be blocked anymore and I just paint whatever. Okay, hence the Kylo Ren portrait here. Okay, I was literally yesterday, I was crouched down on the corner there with my hand on my head, just thinking, oh my God, what am I gonna paint? I was terrified and worried and overthinking. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna paint whatever the fuck I want. And I decided to paint, Kylo Ren because I love him. And that's just one of the benefits of it. It's being able to do stuff, okay? And that applies not only to creative endeavors, it can be your business, it can be your work, it can be an essay. Every time that we need to create something, we feel kind of like overwhelmed by the possibilities of how bad or good it could be at the end. And when you just sit down and you put all those worries into paper, you're also able to look at it from the outside and be like, this is just a feeling. These thoughts, they're just feelings. I feel this way, but that doesn't mean it's real. It's always better to do things and then, you add it later, you see if it's going to be good or not. And if you fail miserably, at least you tried. Okay? So, yeah, this is what I have for you today. This habit got me posting on YouTube and it's fantastic. I recommend it to everyone that feels blocked in a certain area of your life, whatever area this is. Write about it 3 pages every morning and see what happens. Okay. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Bye.